We're here with Steve Hammond, president of CAPR. Steve, how long have you been involved in CAPR, and what inspired you to get involved?
Well, the late Kent Pullen first approached Ron Mariotti and I about forming a property rights organization in response to the then proposed critical areas ordinance for King County. That was in 2004, before Kent's passing. I was elected as the first president of CAPR, but subsequently, with Kent's passing, was appointed and then ran for election and was elected to the King County Council. So I turned the organization over and have just recently come back as its president since leaving the council.
So, Steve, obviously, CAPR does some important work. Can you tell folks what does that involve?
Essentially, we're organized in three parts. We have our umbrella organization, which is the membership organization. We have a legal fund, which involves advocacy and education and filing court challenges and trying to help constituents who are caught in property rights problems to see if we can assist them through the nightmare and maze of government regulations. And then the third part of our organization is a political action committee, which helps to raise funds and assist to get property rights friendly legislators and judges elected.
So, now that you're in 3 counties and organizing in 2 more, this clearly is an organization that, is meeting a need around Washington State. If you were speaking to somebody in a county that CAPR's not yet present in and were to encourage them to get started, what's involved with starting a CAPR chapter?
Well, forming a chapter is fairly simple. We organized in such a way that we made chapters one of the easiest ways that a group could officially affiliate with us and organize. And essentially then they work with our organization as under our umbrella, and much of the paperwork and much of the organizational work is already done. We allow them to elect local officials, and we handle most of the finances, and it just takes away most of the startup work, which is quite extensive for an organization like this. So chapter organization is fairly simple just by contacting us at proprights.org or at 206-335-2312.
Could you repeat that?
206-335-2312. www.proprights.org.
So, Steve, tonight we're filming this just after the end of an amazing speech and a fantastic function down at Emerald Downs featuring Washington State Attorney General Rob McKenna, who gave a very, very eloquent speech on the importance of property rights and his work in that area and its relationship to a thriving democracy and a thriving economy. And so we had about 350 people here. What other sorts of events do you guys do during the course of a typical year?
Well, we just had a court challenge at the appellate court level on a lawsuit that we're involved with over the critical areas ordinance. We, again, work with those who are running for office, if they're property rights friendly, in terms of trying to help those kind of folks get elected to both positions on the local level, the statewide level, the judgeships, places where we need property rights friendly people. And we keep the education going. We often are out there gathering signatures and organizing protests. Last year we had a great time driving tractors down through the middle of Seattle, and it was just a fun time.
So if you were speaking to anybody across Washington State, young or old, rich or poor, east, west, north, south, just to your average random person, to tell them what they would find here in CAPR, whether in this chapter or one of the satellite chapters, what would you tell them they'd find?
I would tell them you're going to find very average, ordinary people who just want to be able to own and control what they have put the sweat and blood and tears into purchasing and working for. We are just folks who know that the right to private property is foundational to all other rights, and that if we don't win at this level, the other rights aren't far behind, going away from us, being ignored and being trampled on. As our Attorney General said tonight, when the right to private property is ignored, tyranny is not far behind. And that's who we are. We're just folks out there earning a living, raising families, and saying that if we buy the property, we ought to be the ones who get to decide what we do with the property.
Well, Steve, thank you for your work, and thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you, Phil.
And come on down and meet Steve.
Thank you very much.
Jim, what inspired you to join CAPR, and how long have you been involved?
We began a new chapter of CAPR in Jefferson County about 6 months ago, and our basic inspiration is probably the same as everyone else, the concern over the continual ebbing away of our civil rights by infringing on our property rights, our right to own property.
Okay. Do you feel like you're helping to make a difference in Jefferson County and around the state through your work?
Little by little, we're seeing an increase in both our fundraising and the people that are coming to our meetings, so the interest is growing. We're finding out all the time that there are a lot of people who have concerns and didn't know where to go to align themselves with other people or to voice those concerns.
So CAPR is now in 3 counties, and they're organizing in 2 more. And if you were speaking to somebody from one of the counties that, beyond CAPR's existing reach, to encourage somebody to help organize a new chapter and spread the organization's work, what would you tell them?
Well, you have to start with the basics. Even a small group can make a difference, and there's a lot of opportunities. We've made contacts with the local media, newspapers, and use every opportunity we can, even letters to the editor, to get interest and get people contacting us and then coming to our meetings, and we ask them to find friends that'll find friends and help it grow.
Great. So speaking to anybody in this state, rich or poor, young or old, north or south, east or west, who has concerns about the government potentially taking their property, or if they don't even own it and they want to own it someday and want to have that ownership mean something, and you were going to ask them to get involved in CAPR, what would you tell them is here for them? What will they find?
Well, I guess I would say it would be a kinship of other people who believe that owning private property is the root of our liberties.
Right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to speak with us, and come on down wherever you are and get involved. Frank, how long have you been a member of CAPR, and what got you interested in getting involved?
2 years, and it's because I've felt that a lot of the regulations and rules that the government have been doing have been discriminated against the small property owners and basically putting the costs of property ownership out of the reach of hands of a lot of the middle-class people.
Yeah. So what part of King County are you from?
I'm from San Juan Island.
Oh, wow. Well, it's quite a drive down to Emerald Downs here. And during your time of involvement with CAPR, what sort of fun have you had, and in what ways do you feel you've made a difference?
I can't say as I've made a difference yet, but I'm contributing what I can and voting for things and donating for things. And
When did CAPR get started up in San Juan?
just a year ago.
Wow. And how many members do you have so far?
It's a very small group.
Okay. So
Under 10, but it's over 5.
well, the exciting thing is we were at an event here tonight that had 350-odd people and the Attorney General of our state, and a real sense of excitement. And CAPR is obviously, they've spread to 3 counties now, and they're organizing in 2 more. So
We're expecting to have over 50 next year. So.
that's really exciting. So, all around Washington state, clearly there are issues with property rights and government's lack of respect for them, and for lack of respect for the citizens that own property. And I take it that you think it's important that change, and that you think that CAPR is the organization to help make that happen. Is that the case?
It's the best tool we have.
Okay. And so if you were speaking to anybody out there, whether rich or poor, young or old, anywhere in this state, what would you tell them they would find in CAPR, and why should they join?
I would tell them to get involved, get informed. It's only $25 to join, and put your shoulder to the wheel.
Great. Well, Frank, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us. Thanks so much, and come down, meet Frank. Lori, how long have you been involved in CAPR, and what inspired you to get involved?
I've been involved for a couple years. Prior to that, my husband and we live in May Valley, and my husband and I got involved because of, we live along a creek, and we've had issues with wanting to dredge the creek and getting the salmon run going again. And we've had other people, King County, telling us that we could not do anything about the creek. And we've been, as good stewards of our property, we've been wanting to take care of that, get the creek running again. And so we got involved with May Valley Environmental Council. We were a small group, and in which I did some political cartoons for.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. And
You didn't make fun of elected officials, did you?
oh yes, we did. Oh yes, Sunny Putter. And anyway, from all that, we just felt really strong about our property, and it really bothered us that we really had little to no control over what was going on. And so a bunch of us in the valley got involved and really want to make a difference. And we believe in our property rights and being able to have that freedom to maintain that.
So if you were speaking to anybody around Washington State, young or old, rich or poor, north, south, east, west, just anybody, to tell them what they would find in this organization and why they should join, what would it be?
I really like that we can come together with a commonality. Foremost, my belief in God, and bring that together, having to solidify those of our forefathers, and something that stands for truth, and having that freedom. It makes me feel good that I'm making a difference, and being able to do something with my own property, and hearing stories that have happened to neighbors has been very dissatisfied with that, taking away those liberties that people have. And I just don't feel it's right. And I think people really need to really understand the issue, and they're being misled.
So are other cartoonists welcome to join, or do you really want to be the only one here?
I really want to be the only one here.
Okay, so come on down and join CAPR, unless you're a cartoonist, in which case, I'm sorry, that slot's full. Rodney, how long have you been involved with CAPR, and what inspired you to get involved?
I've been involved with CAPR since the very first night in Ron Mariotti's auction barn out in Enumclaw, when a bunch of us went and attended a meeting that we had heard a rumor about. And so I was part of a group coming out of the May Valley area in eastern King County. We had a little organization up there, still do, called May Valley Environmental Council, that was 55 landowners in a valley that have been fighting for property issues since 1965 with King County. And so we'd heard that the folks out in Enumclaw were going to have a little meeting, and so we showed up, and we were part of that 100. So from the very beginning, I was there.
So during that span of years, obviously you've had some fun, you've done some hard work, and I'm sure that you feel like you made a real difference in some ways. So can you tell us about your experiences over the years? Just what sort of fun did you have? What have you accomplished?
I think tonight is the fun. Having had this first annual banquet with over 350 people here, as we were doing this, I was thinking back to times after that first meeting in the auction barn where there were 100 people, and we started the real hard work of putting together the nonprofit corporations, the structure of this organization, so that we could, in fact, take it statewide. We realized that we were starting in King County, and this is kind of the belly of the beast in Washington. But in order to succeed, we needed to take it statewide. So when you get down to the hard work, that's much harder than getting a rally together in an auction barn. Mm-hmm. And so, there were times when the Corps folks, 3 or 4, I remember one meeting in Issaquah, we were trying to branch out to more of the county. Enumclaw's kind of out in the boonies, and there were only 2 of us there. This is a fantastic, fun event for me to have come that far in such a short time.
So Mara, how long have you been a member of CAPR, and what inspired you to get involved?
Well, I've been a member of CAPR's for about 6 months now, and what inspired me to go to CAPR's was about a year ago. I was looking for an attorney because I had some events happen to me from the government that I just couldn't believe were happening, where I felt like they were ignoring me and turning a deaf ear to my pleadings for help. And so in my search for an attorney basically said that I didn't have enough equity in my land to be able to afford her, but she was getting inquiries from Governor Gregoire's advisor as to why people are standing up for I-933, and where the government just rolls over the private property owner's rights. And so in that letter that the attorney gave me, she basically said that I was the poster child of I-933 because I'm living on the same property that I was raised on, and my rights are being taken away from me.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, and clearly you need an organization like CAPR to help you stand up for those rights. So during your involvement, what has it brought you?
During my involvement, what CAPR's has brought me is that I have solidarity, and that what I found is by myself I was isolated, and the government could just spin me to where I felt like I was chasing my own tail every time I was trying to get help from them. And so united, I see that I'm not alone, and I see that this is happening to other private property owners as well.
Mm-hmm. So if you were speaking to just any person in King County or around the state of Washington and telling them what they would find here at CAPR, what would you tell them?
I would say that you'd find support, and you would find direction, and you'd find advice from other people who have already been down the same road that you've been down.
Fantastic. And so it's been worthwhile for you?
Absolutely, yes.
Great. Well, thank you for taking the time to speak with us, and come on down and meet Maura and a whole bunch of interesting people just like her. Rob, how long have you been involved in CAPR, and what got you involved?
That's a good question. I found out about CAPR in 2003. Mm-hmm. In passing, I saw a friend in the Duval Auto Parts store, and he told me about this plan of King County and Ron Sims to confiscate 65% of people's property. And I'm a landowner of 8 acres since 1990. And I said, pardon me, what did you just say? Mm-hmm. And he shared this with me again, 65% amongst other stuff. And I couldn't believe it. It was beyond me. So what I did was I went home and made up a document, a 3-page document, and I couldn't believe that other people didn't know about this. Mm-hmm. So I stood on this intersection of Highway 203 and 124th. It was
sort of like Thomas Paine back in the days before the American Revolution.
Okay, I'll take it. But what I did was I stood there, and I went out and spent some money, made some professional banners. I had a professional banner maker, and put them out 300 feet, 100 feet, so give people an idea, because I had a captive audience, people stopping to take a left or right on 203 before they put in a roundabout. So all of a sudden, I'm just standing there sheepishly, not knowing if I'm making a fool of myself. And I started handing through these pamphlets, informational pamphlets, through people's windows. And I wound up spending 5 days there, periodically over a 2 or 3 week period, and handed out over 3,000 to 4,000 documents. Wow. So I planted a seed. It was very gratifying. It was helpful to the community. I've been very grateful. Also, I met Steve Hammond right about this time. I was told about Steve. And I started attending King County Council members to find out more, or King County Council meetings, and attended over 30 of these and spoke every opportunity I had. And I tried to stop this criminal taking, and I found out that it was a It was a planned attack. There was nothing I could do about it. But by goodness, with CAPR, Citizens Alliance for Property Rights, the individual property owner now has a chance. Because individually, we would have been conquered at DDDS's or any other governmental front counter. They could have just said politely, I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, the laws were passed back in the summer of XYZ. You'll have to contact your council member, and they would have left defeated. With CAPR, with Citizens Alliance for Property Rights, we have a body, we have a group. As one, we can make a difference. It's amazing. It's beautiful. I love it. Very happy.
Great. Michael, what inspired you to get involved in CAPR, and how long have you been involved?
I have been involved for about few months, and I came from other country, from ex-communist country, and I was looking for a freedom and nice way of living, which I found in America. I was hoping for it. When I moved over here about 6 years ago to state of Washington, I purchased big property, about 5 acres, it's big for me, which was a life dream for me. And I was so happy about it and proud of it. I paid the taxes, I cleaned the property, and I make it nice. And a little bit later I got in trouble with the county for some things. To make long story short, I didn't even know what was the problem exactly. I didn't understand their language they talking to me. So I was looking for help, and I lost a lot of money because I hire lawyers and I work to some counselors. And finally a friend told me about the Citizens Alliance for the Property Rights and gave me the internet address. I went on the internet, looked it up, and after what I read, it was very interested to me, and it seems like a big hope for me in my case. So I called, and on the other side, the phone was answered by Steve Hammond, and he met with me right away next day. And so far, he's been very helpful to me, and I appreciate his help. And I hope that with his help, I can resolve this problem, which is going on for 3.5 years for me right now.
Wow. Well, so this is an organization that really looks to be making a difference for you.
Yes, it is. I feel a lot more comfortable right now after being part of the organization and knowing that the organization is behind me and helping me with my problem.
So if you were speaking to somebody out there, young or old, rich or poor, anywhere in Washington State, who's having a problem now with the government taking their property or threatening to take their property, or perhaps just owns property and is worried that that might happen, or perhaps someday wants to own property, what would you tell them that they would find here in CAPR? Why should they belong?
In my opinion, if you have the problem or might face some problem in the future, fighting those problems alone with the organization like King County will be very difficult for you, and in my opinion, in numbers is a power. So if you join the organization like Citizens Alliance for Property Rights, and making more of us, give us more power.
Fantastic. Well, Michael, best of luck, and thank you for taking the time to speak with us. Come on down, meet Michael, and find new friends.